dude, to me, it's like, I get fired up because most people don't realize how much money they're really losing. Because it's like, oh, it's a tire. It's the ABCs, right? Just put air in it and it's good. And there's so much more to it than that. Tires are one of those hot button issues. They always.
Well, I never thought it would be.
Yeah, they always have been.
Why is that?
So I think part of it is because we're in a good old boy industry, and I don't mean that to sound weird, but it's like tires. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, don't mess with don't mess with my truck. You know what I'm saying? And it's like.
But people aren't that way towards brands a little bit, but not.
No,
like you can tell somebody talking about Peterbilt or Kenworth, but like people get heated on tires.
Yeah, no, they do, and here's the thing. Part of it is
they act like you don't know what you know.
Well, correct, and dude,
you don't know my operation. You don't know where I'm running.
I wish people would. Again, hey, look, like I'm not going to pretend that I know what it's like to own a fleet because I don't. However, I'm not going to tell you how to run your business because you're the expert. You started this business, right? You're going to run this the way that you see fit. And the same is kind of true with like, hey, let me help you. Like I'm like, let me be the expert to help coach you into what would work for your fleet. And one thing I'm going to get into today is I feel like this industry more than others, they operate under the mantra or under the umbrella of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, if it ain't broke, you're not looking hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
You give me an hour with some of your financials and the tire program that you have, and I'll find money that's walking out your back door. And so for some reason in this industry, it's become it's like when did it be okay to operate under the status quo of just, hey, my tire program's fine, it's good. I would say, if you don't have anything to compare it to, how do you know that I couldn't save you more money compared to what you're running now, right? Because these guys will be like,
because what are they comparing?
They're so territorial. Well, they're so territorial for one, and that's not like a bad thing. That I respect that because I'm the same way. But I feel like you got to come to a point where you got to be open to seeing if something better could be done in your fleet. I'm not trying to we're not trying to tick anybody off here. It's just, man, I really think we could have something that could help your fleet and elevate something that you're not seeing and not doing. But yeah, it's.
But I'm just wondering, is it because of like, and again, some of the feedback I've got, like they're talking about like, well, I can run these tires at half the cost of these tires, and like I get just as much value out of them. But like, how do you convince somebody otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I would say to them, what does value mean to you? Because their definition of value could be, it was $399.99. How many do you want?
Yeah.
Right? Flavor of the month, cheap, right?
Drive tires,
special of the month, whatever.
Because they kept talking about drive tire. Like drive tires doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, they said drive tires, it doesn't matter.
Well, they're just like, I can get these drive tires. Steering, that was different, but like drive tires.
Yeah.
The guys that I was talking to was like, dude, I can run these drive tires for half the cost and get just as much value out of them.
Yeah. So
just as much life.
Yeah. I'm gonna call BS. Because there's a huge difference, Jared, between a tier 1 tire and a tier 4 tire. There's a big difference.
Is there really though?
100%.
But these guys are driving on the road and
there's a huge difference. Look,
I'm not trying to fire you. I'm just
no. But look, there's a reason that a tier 1 tire is $650 to $700. There's a reason that a tier 4 tire.
It's not because of the name on it.
No, I mean, sure, the branding helps, but there's a reason, right? So let me say it like this: if a tier 1 tire, okay, we're looking at Michelin, Bridgestone, Continental, Goodyear. Those are the tier 1 tires. There's 4 of them. Nobody else fits into that category. Okay, they're tier 1 for a reason. Number one, they're a tier 1 tire because of all the research and development that they do. They spend millions and millions of dollars every year to become better. I'm not saying a tier 3 or 4 doesn't do that, but they don't do it to the level that they do. Secondly, I would say is that each of those 4, Michelin, Bridgestone, Goodyear, Continental, they all have their own tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Okay, so Michelin makes Michelin, BF Goodrich, and Uniroyal, right? Continental makes Continental, General, and Ameristeel, right? So they have a complete product offering that they want to offer to their customers. Hankook just has one tire. Toyo just has one brand, so to speak. And I'm not dogging that. The other reason that a tier one tire is so unique is they have their own retread process. That's what sets them apart. They can take a total complete tire offering to their customers. I can sell you I can sell you within our portfolio our tier one, tier two, tier three, and I can also sell you our retreads. That's what sets a tier one tire apart. Okay, and so there's value in that, right? So yeah, I mean that's what sets it apart. When you look at tier four, which would be the quote unquote cheap tires, offshore tires, you're getting price only. That's all you're getting.
The tires that seem to be flooding the market.
They are, and they have been for years. I mean, they have been for years, and it's affected retreading. I'm being honest with you. You can go, a customer can go get a $200 cheap offshore tire. Well, that's hurting the retread industry because keep in mind those retreaders, right? We're tier one, right? Michelin, Bridgestone, Continental, Goodyear. That really cuts into, the sales of our retreading, because these offshore companies will come in and dump tires into the U.S. Now they've created some laws around that to kind of skate the issue, but at the same time, it's and yes, there have been some tariffs on that previous administrations, but still, it's an issue for sure. But getting back to our original question, man, there's a big difference between tier one and tier four. You got to keep this in mind. There's a huge difference between price and value. Okay, when we're talking price, people are buying on price.
Mm-hmm.
It's the flavor of the month. Whatever salesman walks through your door, he's got on special, he's selling it to you, you're going to buy that. Don't buy into the illusion of buying cheap, because cheap only costs you more money. It only costs you more money. Remember, there's a huge difference between price and quality, price and value. Funny story, not really funny story, but my brother, he's a Missouri State champion skeet shooter. Okay, his shotgun is unbelievable. I don't know if you've ever heard of a Krieghoff shotgun.
Oh yeah,
I paid about $30,000.
Yeah, those are crazy expensive.
Made with the craftsmanship and quality of this thing. And he's got to have precision. I mean, his accuracy has got to be dead on when he's in competition, right? Notice he's not going into that competition at a state level, at a high competition level, with a Mossberg pump 12 gauge. So, and not to dog anybody who's got one. I grew up shooting that, turkey hunting. But my point is, there's a big difference between price and quality. When you go price, you're not getting value. You're not getting the you're getting cheap. There's not a lot of craftsmanship. There's not a lot of quality there. So what I find every day is trying to get fleet managers, owners, shop managers. I mean, anybody who's involved in buying the tire process. I'm trying to get them to understand that stop throwing money away on the cheap stuff, because it's costing you more money all day long. So it's something that you've got to pay attention to. It just give the tire guy a shot. It's what we do all day, every day, and we enjoy doing it. Most of us do.
Well, we are rolling, so I'm going to introduce you, Matt Gibbs, Ozarko Tire. Corporate offices in West Plains, correct?
Yeah, corporate offices in West Plains, Missouri.
But talk about the company a little bit.
Yeah, man, it is, man. Ozarko is such an incredible company to work for. Gary McGinnis Sr., our founder, we call him Senior. He started this back in 1990, so we're celebrating our 35th year of being in business. Company-wide, man, we have got 12 locations throughout Missouri and Arkansas. That includes 2 retread plants. We've got one in West Plains, and then we've got one down in Pottsville, Arkansas. We've got about 150 employees, and man, it's amazing to see what Gary Sr. has done throughout the years. Like I said, he started out with one location, and just the vision that he had to grow and to build this company to what it is today. It's inspiring. inspiring to me as not only just an employee, but I mean, man, I can't imagine what it was like to build this back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's been amazing to see the growth throughout the years. Yeah, man, we love what we get to do. He came up with something several years ago, but tagline of our company is specializing in tire cost reduction. And that's what we do. That's the heart of what we do. And what that basically means is if we're not saving you money as a customer, we're not doing our job. Because at the end of the day, I coach and I train, I mentor our sales force. And one of the things that I preach to them really on a daily basis, I don't want you to be a salesman. I want you to be a consultant. I want you to be the expert.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what we do is rooted in education. We've got to educate our customers. Yeah, but man, it's Ozarko's been an amazing journey so far. Yeah.
I want you to tell a bit about your personal story, because how you even got into the tire business. But even Ozarko, just so people know, I mean, you were saying 90% of their business is commercial truck tires, right? Or a large percentage?
No, I would say 99% of what we do.
So, I mean, you guys are focused really on trucking.
That's all we do. Yeah. Our motto is if we can't retread it, we don't want anything to do with it. Because that's the heart, that's the lifeblood of our business is retreading. We are a retreader at heart. It's what we do. Michelin came out with, just some quick history, Michelin came out with MRT, which stands for Michelin Retread Technologies. That is their process in retreading. And they came out with that in 2000. And so we were one of three of the first retreaders to jump on board with Michelin. Previous to that, we were Bridgestone Bandag.
For someone that has no idea what even retreading is, I know a lot of our people who listen to this are going to know.
Sure.
But for someone that's catching this video and being like, "What's he talking about? What is retreading?" The whole process.
So a retread. So commercial truck tire is very unique. Man, when I first started, I thought it was round. It was made of rubber and held air. But there is so much more science and technology into the development of a commercial truck tire. And so retreading. Basically, so when you buy a new tire, let's say you put that on the steer tire, that's the front axle right in front of the truck. Let's say that will get between 120 and 150,000 miles if you're a line haul fleet. Once that tire is done and it's served its life, it's run its life, you've now got what we call a casing. Okay, that is an asset. Okay, you paid $600-700 if you're a tier 1 tire. You paid that. It's in your best interest to retread that tire. And so what we'll do is we'll take that tire, we will basically buff off the remainder of the tread. We buff it to a specific depth. These are all automated, generated machines. Our service techs and our retread technicians, they man those stations. But anyway, it's automated, and so it goes through a step-by-step process. And what we do is at the end result, we take a old junk tire that you were going to maybe throw away, and we actually retread it. We put a whole new tread on top of that. Michelin Retread Technologies is very unique in the way that we do things. We're a little bit different. We have some different technologies that give us an edge, so to speak. Because I will say this, retreading over the years has got a bad rap.
It's
and I'm sure you heard that.
still a bad rap.
Yeah, I'm sure you heard that with some of your customers.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those things where, when a customer says to me, when he's not retreading, and I try to get him to, and he'll say to me, it just doesn't work. Retreading doesn't work. I said, okay. I said, well, what doesn't work about it? I don't let him off the hook easy. And I want to be respectful, but man, if we're as sales guys, if we're as consultants, if we're afraid to speak the facts and tell the truth, man, we need to go do something else. And so what I try to say is, what were your pain points when you tried it, right? And it was, they just doesn't work. They come apart, they don't work. Okay.
I'll pause real quick. It seems like going on the highway, you see, I think the terminologies they call them road gators.
Road gators, sure.
Road gator, but those a lot of times aren't those retreads that have fallen off?
So interestingly enough, it's a mixture between new tires. Some are new, some are retread. So think about this, Jared. When you have a truck that weighs 80,000 pounds and it's under load, going 70 miles an hour down the road, it doesn't really matter if it's a new tire, if it's a retread. If there's an issue, that tire's going to fail regardless of whether it's a new tire or a retread. Okay, so there's that. But getting back to your original question of a guy says retreading doesn't work. So I'll ask him, hey, when's the last time you tried a retread? 10 years ago. Okay. Do you still have the same cell phone you had 10 years ago? Well, no. Okay, so technology changes. And it's the same thing with
So the technology today that you all have is better.
100% every single year, we have to update our equipment because the manufacturer that we use, which is Michelin, they come out with different features, advantages, and benefits. And we have to upgrade our equipment. We just spent $250,000 at both of our retread plants because we had to update our equipment.
This may sound like a loaded question, but
No.
if you're putting drive tires on and you got I don't know, one side's retreads, the other side's new, you're telling me those retreads are going to hold up just as well as
If they're made right, absolutely. Yeah. So think of this. So when we retread our tires, this is one of the unique benefits of being MRT is like, for example, let's talk drive tires for a second, right? So a guy goes out, he spends, $600, $650 on a Michelin drive tire. And if he's a line haul fleet, I would recommend he would run a specific tire, but he should get the tire what I would recommend about 330,000 miles, average, okay? Not like his best and not his worst, average, right? We deal in averages, okay? I don't just take the best and cherry pick. So that's what he should be getting if he's a pure line haul fleet, about 330s. We see 350, I've seen 360, 370, just depends. But what we can do is once he runs that new tire out, we'll take that, I'll retread it, I'll put the same exact tread that he had on it, okay? So he bought, let's say, an XLED, I will retread that with an XLED.
And real quick too, I'll so I understand when these people are using retreads, are they taking their actual tire and they're getting that same tire back, or are they different tires if they're getting retread?
So good question.
Yeah, that's what.
So a lot of retreaders do what's called a casing pool. That's a big no-no. We don't do that. So as you, the customer, I'm going to respect the assets that you paid for and you bought.
Yeah.
One of the ways that I respect that is
You may not want to get some. You don't know what.
here's what happens.
Yeah.
Here's what casing pools do. People, let's say you bought a Bridgestone, okay, and I was your dealer and I picked up that Bridgestone and I went and retreaded it and I brought it back to you, but I brought you back a Toyo. What did I just do? I just robbed you a tier 1 tire casing and I replaced it with a tier 3.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't do that. If you give me a Bridgestone casing to retread, you're going to get back a Bridgestone casing retread. It's one of the things that our founder Gary Sr. decided a long time ago when he started this business.
It's good.
We do business on top of the table, and it's the one thing that separates us apart. A handshake goes a long way. I know we live in different times, but we still operate by that. I want to look my customer in the eye. I want to shake his hand, and that's the way I want to do business. And so we have certain parameters that set up. So whenever we drop off tires, whenever we drop off retreads, or when we pick up retreads, let's say we go in and we're going to pick.
Is that usually a seamless? I mean, I'm just thinking some of these decent sized fleets, so they'll have tires that you guys are dropping off and then picking up at the same time. It's kind of a
correct, yeah. And so what we'll do is we actually ride up the tires there. What that means is, if we're picking up, let's say we're going to pick up 20 casings to retread, we'll pick them up. My tech will barcode each one of those tires at the customer's yard, on his yard, wherever they're at in his shop, and we'll write those tires up. We're going to give that customer a copy. Okay, I've got 2 copies, 1 carbon copy. We give him a copy so he knows exactly what we took, so that he will know exactly what he gets back. So we a long time ago, again, we decided we want to do business the right way, and that's one way to keep us honest. Number one, but 2, it just shows our customer, look, we understand the assets that you're entrusting to us, and we want to set up parameters so that we do that in such a way that is honorable to you. And so that just a little bit of, that's just a few ways of how we do business different, so to speak.
I'm going to bounce back just a little bit and we're going to get back into the tires, but I think I want to make sure people hear your story. Like, you started off working for corporate, right? Or working directly for Michelin?
Yeah,
is that right?
correct. Yeah. So I worked for Michelin corporate, and worked for them for a few years. Got into the industry really crazy, man. Before that, I was in ministry.
Yeah.
So crazy story. How do you go from like being in ministry to tires? I have no idea. But man, the story worked out well, and yeah. So I got involved with Michelin. Went on board with them. Did training with them. My first assignment was out in Orange County, California. So my whole territory as a commercial territory sales manager was out in Orange County. So I probably had one of the most beautiful places to work with.
No
for sure,
kidding.
man, it was awesome. I mean, my wife, we had a great time. We got to travel around and see a lot of things. But man, it's where I cut my teeth. I had the largest school bus fleet in America, LA County, and so we just got a ton of big fleet experience, and that was, I feel, necessary to really help build upon where I'm at today. So yeah, man, that in the early days, yeah, that absolutely helped. And man, the training that I got was second to none.
Well, because you told me the history, like Michelin was the very first company
Yeah.
to, I mean,
Well, yeah, so it's really incredible. So
Yeah, I
back in 1894, they created the first pneumatic tire that held air.
that was Michelin.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And tires back then used to be white because they were made of rubber, right? And so they hadn't figured out the carbon black process. When you add carbon black, which is when you burn off crude oil, it creates carbon black. The reason that we do that is we mix that into that natural rubber, and it creates a more stiffer, rigid rubber compound. Whereas in the early days, it was too soft and just it's just like a rubber glove. It was just too stretchy. Anyway, so over the years, yeah, Michelin has done a phenomenal job. They've just been the pioneers and just really on the front lines of what it means to build a tire that works, build a tire that matters.
And they even like they're the first ones to even come out with the plot
Correct. Yeah, in 1946, they created their first radial tire.
radial tire. What does that mean?
Okay, so a radial tire. So before that, they were bias ply tires, right? And so
And apply means
yeah. So inside, let's go back. So pre 1946, you would have bias ply tires. These were made of basically they were layers and layers of fabric on the inside, literally just made of fabric. That's what was the skeletal system of that tire. And it worked fine for what it was.
this is fascinating for anybody, not
No,
just
for sure.
trucking. Like just
No,
because
it really
we all
is. It really
drive
is,
vehicles
yeah.
with tires.
Then in 1950, or excuse me, in 46, they created the radial tire, right? Started putting those in passenger tires. The difference between a bias ply and a radial is the radial is constructed of steel, right? So think of that, our skeletal system is our bones, right? Inside of that casing, that tire, is steel. And it did several things, but man, it revolutionized the tire industry because now you've got a tire that is going to last twice as long. It's more resistant to heat. Always remember this for your guys listening, your truckers out there listening. The number one enemy of a tire is heat. Okay, that's the number one enemy. Anyway, but so with these radial tires, they were more durable. Just the strength was completely different than before, and so then they came out. Michelin invented the radial truck tire in 1952, and that just completely revolutionized commercial trucking.
So Michelin was really on the forefront, pioneered a
100%.
lot of these processes
have
before any other.
Yeah. That's why when somebody's like, man, they and here's the thing, there are all kinds of other great brands. I told you that the top tier 4 tires, Michelin, Goodyear, Continental, Bridgestone, those are all great tires. Some are better than others, but Michelin has always been on the forefront of that for sure.
Michelin, their corporate office is in.
Well, in North America, it's in Greenville, South Carolina, which is where I jumped on, and I was living in Greenville at the time. And
But world headquarters is.
world headquarters is in France.
Yeah,
Yeah,
French-owned company.
Correct. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. I want to go back and talk about kind of the timeline because you said something to me I thought was fascinating about, when you look at your 3 biggest costs in trucking.
Yeah. So typically, you're going to look at your trucker's salary.
Yep.
So salaries are going to be there. That's probably number 1. Number 2 is fuel, and number 3 are tires. Okay, and that's I didn't.
I never heard of that until you told me that. Yeah. People are like when they talk, like nobody talks about tire costs.
We always say in tires, we always say fuel and tires are or fuel is 1, tires are 2. But okay, let's be realistic. They've got to pay the guys to drive the truck. But yeah, tires is number 3. And so my thought is, conventional wisdom would say to me, look, if tires make up a huge portion of your bottom line and your budget every single year, then why in the world are you not putting that budget under a microscope, putting that tire program under a microscope to make sure that you're maximizing dollar per dollar every single tire that you purchase? And so again, this is where the education comes in, because I think in our industry, like I was telling you, man, a lot of times, hey, we just do things the way we've always done it. Hey, it's worked in the past, and I think that's where I try to get fleets to understand, if it's not broke, you're not looking hard enough, right? I said this earlier, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But give me an hour and I'll show you money that's walking out the back of your door because of the tire program that's bleeding dollars. It's a battle that we fight every single day.
Hey guys, we're super excited. We just launched the BulkLoads fuel card. After years of preparation and planning, we now have a card for our BulkLoads members. If you're interested, go to the link below or go on BulkLoads and click on the fuel card tab. This card we have put together, you can save at all the major truck stops. We're super excited to get it out there. So check out the BulkLoads fuel card.
If you can, maybe not, but you gave me some examples, and maybe just talk generically. You've been to companies, large fleet companies, that the number of was it roadside incidents? But like, maybe give just some reflection, because I was like, that sounds like, first off, how can a company, with hundreds of thousands of rigs,
right,
not be paying attention to something like this if it's as important as you say it really is?
And so here's the thing. So one of the things
it makes no sense at all.
No, hey, over the last 14 years of my career, one of the things I've learned is it doesn't matter if you're a small fleet or a large fleet. People have problems regardless. I think sometimes maybe we get, if you're a smaller fleet owner, you may get caught in the illusion of having 1,000 trucks is where it's at. Man, you've got 1,000 more problems to deal with, first of all. But look, so I was consulting a pretty large fleet a couple weeks ago, and one of the things one of their biggest issues were they were having an enormous amount of ERS calls, right? So
what is that?
Yeah, so an ERS call is where, hey, a trucker's driving, something happens, he's got to pull over. Could be an engine, could be whatever. In most cases, it's going to be a tire. Why? Well, because you've got 18 touch points, right? If you're running duals, you've got 18 touch points, 18 tires on the ground, right? Carrying 80,000 pounds, driving 70 miles an hour.
Do you have any, I'm just asking, like, ESR or ERS calls, what percentage of those are tire related?
So,
because I would think,
I would say between 75 and 80% are all tire related.
When that truck's got to pull off the road, 80% tire related?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll prove it to you. So I was consulting with this large fleet. One of their biggest issues were ERS calls, right? So I looked at the number in a total year, right, total calendar year, and they had over, and this is a large fleet, man, really large, but they had over 4,100 ERS events. Okay, 73% of those ERS events were all tire related. Okay, so it wasn't quite the 80 that I just mentioned, but they were all tire related. Of those 73%, they all had to do with a tire failure, right? Improper air pressure, they ran over a nail, whatever the case was. But the majority of these happened on their trailer position. Okay, so my first clue is something is going on in your trailer position. So let's look at it. What is it? So I'm looking at their retread, because most people will retread drives at least. And they're foolish if they're not. And I can get into that in just a little bit. And you, call me out and I'll tell you why. But they were retreading that. And so we got to look at, okay, what's going on? My first place to always start is air pressure. Are you running the correct air pressure? If you're not running the correct air pressure, that's first and foremost. These are the ABCs of trucking, right? 1 + 1 = 2. We can't go to trigonometry, right, and astrophysics. We got to start with 1 + 1 = 2. It's all about the basics, right? And so we look there, but the issue is, and I'm still working on this, but it's coming out to be there's a retread issue. And so at the end of the day, they're not running the right retread. Okay, not all retreads are created equal. Okay, one retread is not equal another. Earlier we were talking about price.
Now you're talking about within like this brand retread versus this brand. Okay, you're talking about with the same brand. Okay.
Yeah. So for example, there are, again, the tier 1 big manufacturers. We all have our own retread process, right? Michelin, Bridgestone, Continental, Goodyear. But then you've got some other offshoots where it's a more value retread brand. Okay, and that's what's going on here. And so all retreads are take even the tier 1 guys. We're not apples to apples. My Michelin retread process is completely different than everybody else. We do things that they don't do. And so running the right retread matters. And so that's one of my challenges in this particular case with this fleet, is to get them to understand that. And so
But
my job,
that company specifically was running the wrong retread?
it wasn't that they were running the wrong retread. In plain English, their quality sucks, Jared. That's what it comes down to.
I think about like you're
Because-
talking about ERS calls,
Yeah.
and again, I cringe on that because, and you drive down the road, you see it happen,
Yeah.
but it's. I've been in logistics half my life. Like it's not just that the cost to repair that, but the downtime.
Yeah,
that driver sitting there. I mean, dude, you go through the math, and it's not just the.
Watch this. I didn't mean to cut you off. Watch this.
Yeah.
So you take those 4,100 events, right? 73%.
How many can be preventable?
It's all preventable. It's all preventable. That I mean, sure, yeah. You can't prevent running over a
nail.
a nail or some piece of rebarb in the road. Okay, like I'm sorry, tires are not indestructible. They're not bulletproof. Okay, things are going to happen. But Jared, it blows my mind. So with these 4,100 events, the average road call is $700. 4,100 times $700 is about 2.8 million. And these fleets have to factor that into their downtime. So
I was talking about that truck one day of running, and I'm just saying on average, just say $1,000 in gross revenue. I mean, it could go up, but I'm just saying on average. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so you're already. I mean, that's gross. That's not net.
Correct.
So I mean, he's already at a big loss for the day.
Correct. And that
How many days does it take to catch up to that?
Correct. And then you got to factor how long is he down? Okay, this particular fleet their average was about 6.5 to 7 hours. Because you're waiting in the middle of nowhere for some guy to come rescue you, right? And so it's just, this is why, again, education is a huge part of what I do, of what we do, because we're trying to get fleets to look at more than just what they paid for the tire. When I walk in and I'm consulting with a fleet, one of the things I'll say is, "What's your cost per mile?" And they'll reach in and they'll pull out a file and they'll pull out an invoice. Hey, I paid $650. And I'll be like, "That's great, Bob, but that's what you paid for the tire. That's not your cost per mile." And so, okay, so here's the kicker. This is the disillusionment that people have with cost per mile. Well, that's just what I paid for the tire. So, cost per mile is what you paid for the tire, but it's also how many miles you got out of it. Jared, everything we do in the transportation industry is measured by what? Miles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, same is true with a tire. So the longer that tire stays on, the more money you save.
That's right.
Okay, so cost per mile, and a simple way to figure cost per mile is you take the cost of the tire divided by your run out miles. That gives you your cost per mile.
All right.
Most guys are only focusing on what they paid. Now watch this. I heard this a long time ago and this stuck with me. It's not so much what you pay for the tire, it's how often you pay it. Does that make sense? Now, granted, hey, yes, it matters how much you pay for the tire.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a tier 1 guy. I'm gonna promote that. But at the same time, it's how often are you buying it? And that's what happens, man. These guys that are running cheap tires or cheaper tires or offshore tires, they buy into the illusion that, hey, cheap's gonna work for me. But here's the reality of the situation. They're gonna buy 2.5 to 3 times to my one tier 1 tire.
They are though.
100%. So let me prove it to you. So let me go with Michelin because
These guys are telling me otherwise.
Here's the deal.
I'm not. I'm just.
So here's the thing.
Prove it.
So I'm gonna go with Michelin because that's what I know the best, right? You take a Michelin XLEZ Plus steer tire. Okay, that's their premier line haul steer tire. Fuel efficient. Got a lot of features, advantages, benefits. I could talk for hours about it. But in a pure line haul fleet, going from here to LA, here to New York, here to Montana, here to wherever, the average is about 185,000 miles. That's what we see in our fleets. Okay, keep in mind, I'm not just making this stuff up.
Yeah, these are actual stats.
We have thousands of fleets that we do business with every single day. One of our jobs is to track those tires because I have to prove my value to them. Remember I told you Gary Sr. said our motto, our tagline is specializing in tire cost reduction. This is one of the ways that we do that.
Yeah.
And so by tracking tires, I'm going to show that customer, he knows what he paid for the tire. That's easy. He can check the invoice. What he doesn't know is he doesn't have a man who's tracking it. So we'll track those tires. I'm able to give him that cost per mile, right? That's, I believe, one of the key missing factors in this whole thing is that guys will pay for that tire, but they won't track it, so they have no idea what they're getting out of it.
Real quick, a lot of these big shops, they have fleet maintenance programs. I'm sure there's tires within that. Does Michelin have any specific program or system people can use?
Well, yeah, no, definitely. And Michelin has something called the Michelin Commercial Service Network. Okay, and they're a network of dealers, authorized Michelin dealers throughout the country. We're obviously one of them.
Right.
A dealer like us kind of sits at the top. There's only 23 of us because we're what's called a durable partner with Michelin. So not only do we sell Michelin, we're an authorized Michelin dealer, but we also retread for them. And so Michelin's very selective with who retreads for them. So we're kind of that, I guess, upper tier, so to speak, of the dealers. But everybody else, they've got a network. So that way, let's say your drivers are, hey, it's early. They started early. It's 4:30 a.m. They're 30 minutes into their drive, they pop a tire. So Michelin's got a system where they can really, it's pretty neat, pull up on their app. It will automatically find them. They can call Michelin. Michelin will dispatch, the closest nearest authorized Michelin dealer to them to get them up and going. And hey, and to be fair, man, hey, Bridgestone, Continental, they've all got them.
Right.
You've got them, yeah. So, but yeah, man, it is, it's customers want to be taken care of, not just at home, because that's easy to do. Where they're most vulnerable is when they're away
100%.
at 4 in the morning in the middle of nowhere when they're broke down. And so this is that safety net. And again, it's one of the value, the value propositions that we offer as like a Michelin dealer that we can offer our fleets. We can take care of you, yes, here at home, but also more importantly, no matter where you're at. We're in all 48 states, all 48 the lower 40, and we're in Alaska as well. So we're everywhere.
Yeah. A couple of things I want to plow through this, and this has been so good. You were telling me, and most of our probably listeners in trucking know this, but I mean, there are specific tires designed to do specific things. That tire running to LA and back, it's a different tire versus maybe a regional guy. And our audience.
Yeah.
We have a lot of listeners across the scope, but we deal with a lot of bulk guys.
Yep.
So talk on that. I'm going to hit you on the super singles too, because I really want to touch that one too.
Yeah.
But talk about just the difference in tires and really knowing that you're really using the right tire
For sure,
to optimize what your fleet is doing.
You bet. So again, one of the basics, foundational principles that we try to get our customers to understand, and this is really critical. And so here it is. Every tire made in the world, commercial truck tire, will fit into one of these 5 categories, okay? Or what we call applications. So first of all, number 1 would be line haul. A line haul fleet, right? That guy is driving straight, doing all interstate here to LA, here to New York.
Yep.
Okay. Line haul or long haul.
Long haul. Yep.
Number 2, we got regional. That's really what the BulkLoads community is going to be.
Yep.
I'm driving from Missouri to Nebraska.
Yep.
I'm going from Nebraska to Iowa.
100%.
So
That's exactly
it typically 300 to 400 to 500 miles, and more than likely back because they're day cabs, a lot of them. So that's regional. Then there's one called on off, 80% on road, 20% off road. Okay, it'd be like a dump truck, right?
I was thinking logging operation.
Yeah,
or
that
something.
as well. Yep, exactly. And then the next one is off on, 80% off road, 20% on road. Okay, so maybe like a concrete mixer, something along those lines. Okay,
there you go. Yeah.
And then the last one, the 5th one, is urban. Urban's going to be your waste fleets, your city buses.
Garbage
we've got
trucks.
large cities in America, right? And so urban is huge in some of those larger areas. But every commercial truck tire will fit into one of those categories. Okay, so as a tire sales guy, consultant, whatever you want to call me, my job is to make sure that we put the right tire in your fleet. Now, we can, again, every fleet is different, and even with your crew really listening right now, and man, it's every truck's different, every driver's different, and I don't want to say every truck is different, but you've got different drivers and different routes. And so if you've got, for example, we may have to break it down a little bit further and drill down. So maybe you've got, a bulk guy who's going from, Nebraska to Iowa, but you've got another route that might be more long distance, right? He may be more line haul.
Yeah, he may be going out to California.
Correct. Yeah, so we can tailor that and switch that. So it's not a, one size fits all into that particular fleet.
But you need to be cognizant that you should be using different tires for those processes.
Correct.
Yeah. So you may have one big fleet, but these trucks that are running out
Yep.
west, delivering pet food, need to be different than
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
super singles.
Yeah. So super singles.
Yeah. Now, I
So,
was shocked
yeah.
because I'll be honest, I've always been a super single fan, and I'll say
Yeah.
number reason why, because we're in the bulk game.
Yeah.
When I say we're in the bulk, we are in maximizing load.
Yep.
Our drivers get paid for the weight they haul. They don't get paid per mile.
That's right.
There's no flat rate. It's whatever they can haul in that trailer legally
Yep.
is what they get paid. So we have to be masters of weight efficiency.
Right.
Like that truck and trailer, we need to be running as light as possible,
Correct.
legally possible, to get that on there. Years ago, talking to guys running these super singles, especially when I was a dispatcher working for a shipper, guys I dealt with out in Kansas, a lot of guys I talked to were running these super singles.
Yeah.
Again, they could get better fuel mileage. They were lighter.
Yep.
For someone that doesn't, first off, I want you to explain, because you're more of an expert on it. What is a super single?
Yeah. So super single. So Michelin invented the quote unquote super single.
They were the first ones.
First ones in 2000. They were the first one to come out with it, and then everybody else made them later. And so again, just kind of shows you their ingenuity and the engineering that they pursue.
Why was that? What was the thought process behind it?
So, well, you just touched on it, and I'll get into the reasons why. But for bulk haulers, like you just said, everything's gone by weight. And so when you think about this, just logically, when you have a super single, right? It's basically one big tire. One super single replaces two duals.
Yep.
Okay. And so obviously we only run those on on the driving trailer. But the great thing about, let me say the benefit, the features, advantages, and benefits of running super singles are you save weight and you save fuel. Think about it. You've got 4 tires instead of 8. You've got 4 rims or wheels instead of 8 wheels. So you're already lighter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've got less rolling resistance that you're fighting because you've got, right, 8 drives. Well, now you go to 4, you've got less rolling resistance. Okay, so they're more fuel efficient. But when you run, in this case, Michelin super singles are called X1s. When you run those, you will save 200 pounds per axle. You're 200 pounds lighter per axle. And so, to what you guys do, that matters. Why?
So, I
Because you
mean,
can carry
between
more load.
drives and trailer, if you get them on both,
Correct.
I mean, you're 800 pounds.
800 pounds.
I mean, that's almost a half a ton.
That's the max you can save, 800 pounds, versus running duals. So here's the thing, Jared. It works for what you all do. It works for the bulk community, hands down. And if you're not doing it, I would encourage you to do it.
But I'm seeing companies like one here in town,
Yeah,
a
there's
very large outfit, that they run them.
there's a yes, and
And they're not running. I mean, they have bulk too, but I've seen it on
Yeah,
their other
so-
trailers, their
so
reefers.
there are some fleets who are so dialed in to their tire programs and the way that they do things. They're experts at it. They lead the industry because they're maximizing their tire programs by the different specs that they allow or what they don't allow. Dude, in other words, they're watching their tires, man. They maximize, they squeeze out every single ounce of money out of that one tire. And but getting back to the X1s, it benefits guys like the bulk community 100%. Where now, when they first came out, really weird. People were like, I don't know what to do with this. They started to catch fire. 2010 started to really ramp up. They, as a whole, they're on the way down. And the reason for
They're
that,
losing.
yeah, for sure. There's so many fleets who have come off super
Why?
singles, because you can't really retread it.
That's the number one reason.
Yep. The other reason is most people, and I'll get into the retread piece. A lot of people, they don't. A lot of guys, old school. Hey, if my tire blows, I'm going to limp in. Right? That's the thought. Right? Everybody does that. Here's what they don't realize. Okay. Your tires and the air pressure that you have in them, they are designed to carry that load evenly across those 8 trailer tires. Okay? When one blows, that one that blew, the one next to it, it's taking the abuse. So at some point, you're going to have problems with that tire. It might be today, it might be in 2 months. But most likely, if you're heavy under load, damage happens to that tire. And so a lot of guys don't like the super singles because they can't limp in. When you're down, man.
Yeah.
So time, right? Hey, time is precious. So that's one of the big issues that people have with running super singles is just the time issue. They can't limp in. But really, for guys that retread, think about it. It's twice the size of a normal casing, and so not very many manufacturers. Michelin's really one of the only manufacturers who's figured out how to retread it. We look at our rejection rate at our retread plants on super singles over the last, gosh, I don't know, 15 years. 50% reject.
Wow.
It's that high. And so now Michelin went back to the drawing board a few years ago and redesigned their casing, and it helped tremendously. But it's just, they're kind of a pain. I'm gonna be honest with you. They kind of are, but they are specific. I would call it a niche. And with what the bulk community does, it works very well.
I was just trying to do the math in my head. If I can say, if I can load a half a ton more every day, and if I'm getting paid, $25. I mean, I was just like, man, I mean, you do the cost versus rev that you can gain.
For sure. No,
it depends on the operation.
It absolutely benefits.
Yeah, you see them on a lot of fuel haulers too, especially your liquid guys.
Oh, yeah. Any tankers?
A lot of guys hauling fuel and gas and stuff like that. So, well, I'm going to land this plane, Matt. You mentioned earlier, and I always want to give really good takeaways and ways that people can kind of walk away from the show and maybe put some practical things in step. Mm-hmm. But you said the number one enemy is heat.
Yeah.
But talk about, like, for people that have tire programs right now, maybe they're not really focused on them. But what are just some really practical things people need to be doing today just to make sure that they are, for lack of better terms, taking care of their tires, that they're not going to have, they're not going to be stuck on the road out there?
No, I mean, hey, one of the most important things that the challenge that fleet owners have is getting their drivers to do their pre-trip and post-trip inspections.
And we just kick the tires, right?
Nobody does. Yeah. Just thump it, right? Just thump it.
We still have some of those thumpers.
But, hey, and what's funny about that is so a few years ago, man, funny story. We were doing this, and we brought a bunch of fleets in and kind of did a whole shindig for them. Had a good time with them. We're talking about different things in the market, talking about retreading and so we had a contest, and because these good old boys, man, they brought their beaters, and so what we did is they brought their clubs. We had a tire that we put a certain amount of air pressure in, and we said, hey, whoever guesses the correct amount of air pressure by taking your old school thumper, whoever gets the closest, we'll give you $100 cash. And so everybody came up, everybody was trying it. Now we put 50 pounds of PSI in it, 50 pounds of air. Okay, that's considered flat. Really. 75 to 80 PSI is considered flat.
Okay.
And so anyway, so they would come up, they'd thump it, guys are like, oh man, that's 100, that's kind of standard. Man, it's 100, 90, whatever. Nobody can guess it. We ended up, nobody even got it. And so the moral of the story is our message to them that day was, listen, you cannot check your air pressure without an air chuck or an air gauge. You can't kick it. You can't thump it. I said, that would be like us taking a hammer, tapping on the wall of your engine and say, tell me how much oil's in there. You just can't do it. And so man, what I would say to the fleets, first of all, do your pre-trip and post-trip. You've got to check air pressure. Air pressure is everything.
I'm sure there's technology out now where a lot of these, can they see the pressure in the cab?
For sure.
And
there are. It depends on what trucks and what, vehicles.
It seems like that's technology to invest in.
It is out there. But dude, that's number one. Why spend $650, $700 on a tier 1 tire and then you don't check the air pressure? It's the quickest way to ruin a tire. Any tire, doesn't matter if it's cheap or expensive. Bottom line, the quickest way to ruin that tire is don't run the correct air pressure. So you've got to constantly check that because your loads are constantly checking. Air temperature has a huge deal with it. Has a huge thing to do with it. Man, when it's 100 degrees out like it is right now, those tires heat up really fast. In the wintertime, it takes them a little bit longer, but man, again, you got to think about this, Jared. Those tires, they're doing over 500 revolutions per mile. Under load, 80,000 pounds doing 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's incredible.
People don't understand the amount of abuse that tires take. And so give your tire program the best chance by checking the air pressure. Next, what I would say is this. If you're not running a tier 1 tire, you need to be. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why. Number 1 is cost per mile. Okay? Again, cost per mile is the longer that tire stays on, you're stretching out your dollars, the more money that you're saving yourself because you're not buying a tire, it's still on, right? Cost per mile, okay? Second thing is retreadability. When you buy a tier 1 casing, tier 1 tire, and you run that out and you're going to retread it, it comes with a great casing. A large tier 1 retreader 15 years ago did a study. And forgive me if I've already said this, but they said if you can retread a tire once, you save 17% cost per mile. If you retread that tire a second time, you save 30%.
Wow.
So you want to talk about ROI, retreading is the way to do it. Just give it a shot, guys. It's not what it was 10 years ago. It's completely changed. So retreadability is huge, man. You've got to retread. The largest fleets in America, Walmart, UPS, FedEx, they retread. As a dealer, collectively combined, we sold 15 million retreads last year in 2024. Retreading works. You just got to do it right. The third reason I would tell you need to buy a tier 1 is for a tire warranty or a casing warranty. Okay, when you buy cheap, 8 out of 10 times you're not getting a casing warranty or a tire warranty. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you one with Michelin. I know it the best. In the last several years, they've had one that they guarantee you 7 years or 3 retreads. Okay, so you're covered for 7 years under that tire for any defects that are, defects or the fault of in the manufacturing process, and they guarantee you 3 retreads. Now their new tire, they bump that up to they guarantee you 1 million miles on that casing and 4 retreads. Now here's the thing. Why would the inventor of the radial tire throw out a crazy warranty like that if it couldn't be backed up? So it works. So those 3 reasons, cost per mile, retreadability, and casing warranty, is why you want to run a tier 1 tire. And if you haven't bought one in a long time, give it a shot. Just try it. But do the simple things, right? I mean, it's not, you just, I mean, my goodness. I mean, same thing with like my wife's car. Like I got to check the air pressure. If I don't, I've seen what can happen. So yeah, the same is true with these trucks, man.
I even think about if you haven't yet or in a while, like even experiment with, you don't have to convert the whole fleet.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Hey, and
try it.
We call that testing.
Yeah.
Every fleet should be testing.
And
If you're a Bridgestone fleet, test a Michelin. If you're a Michelin fleet, test a Continental. See what works. Because guys, keep this in mind. The technology is always changing. Yeah. It's always getting better. Michelin wouldn't have gone from a 7-year, 3-year guarantee to 1 million miles 4 retreads if they didn't improve the tire. So yeah, man, technology is always changing. But man, as far as upkeep and maintenance on your tires, it's the simple things. They go a long way.
Yeah, sure. Man, we'll end on that one, Matt. This has been super good. Yeah, man, I was just saying, like, when there's going to be probably a slew of comments. Hey, when this is on YouTube, so I'll probably be reaching back.
Hey, let me know, and I'll try to have big shoulders and take the fire.
No, it's been good because I think this is one of those. It needs to be talked about more.
And man, the bottom line, I just want to challenge the status quo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because my thought is, man, when did the status quo become the standard by which we live?
Ooh.
And that's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah. So good. Matt Gibbs, Ozarko Tire, thank you so much. God bless you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.